Welcome to the Mindful Parenting webinar, where Frank Singham, Mei Cheng, and I, Angie Chu, hosts this program. And we are very delighted to have a second-year business student from NUS joining us today. His name is Isaac, and he had taken the course that I conducted there called the Undefeated Mind. So I'm very pleased that he has agreed to share his journey, as it's always difficult for teenagers to want to talk about their difficulties in their growing up years, and especially exposing their vulnerabilities and how things were very challenging as they were growing up. So these students have been amazing upon invitation, that they are very forthcoming and able to provide a lot of insights to what it's like growing up as a teenager in today's modern Singapore. The challenges that they face, the demands on them from their parents, their school, as well as their own self-expectations. So I'm delighted now to be welcoming Isaac to turn on their video. So hi, Isaac, welcome. And I'm going to start off by asking you, what was your relationship with your parents like before you took the course on the undefeated mind?
Okay, hi Prof. and Jay. Hi everyone here. Thank you for taking the time to hear us speak. So basically last time, right, my relationship with my father was very good. Especially in primary school, I recall that we spent a lot of time together because I was very attached to my dad, and he would teach me a lot of things. Especially when I was 8 years old, I could remember he even taught me how to play chess, and I really enjoyed the time with him. However, when I transited to secondary school, he was a lot busier with work, and I was a lot busier with my schoolwork and with my friends. And from that phase onwards, we hardly speak to one another, even though we are staying in the same place. Our conversation would just end up with just 2 sentences asking whether you have ate, what you do in school, and that's about it. I wouldn't share with him a lot of personal matters. I wouldn't share with him what happened in school. There's a lot of things that was just kept to myself, and all the personal matters was just kept at the bottom of my heart without sharing with him. And he also did not show any more concern, and he did not really kind of ask me what went wrong in school today or anything else. It just became very, our communication just became, it's just broken down. It was no longer like what I expected when I was in primary school. And as time goes by, it still didn't really improve. But then until when I entered the university and I took up this mindfulness course, that was when there was a slight turning point. I was taught on plenty of things in mindfulness, and I remember in one of the lessons, we were told that we needed to write a letter. That was the real turning point for me, because I wrote a letter to my dad thinking that I wanted to improve our relationship. Because I understand that my dad is no longer young anymore. He is getting old, and the time that he has left here is also limited. And I want to take every opportunity I can to spend with him. So I wrote all this in my letter, and I wrote how I feel over the years and how I wish we could go back to times like we were in in primary school. So after I passed in the letter, and then he read it, and then he also talked to me for a while, and then we started to have a real conversation already. For more than an hour, finally we were just talking about how we spend our time, and then how I understand about his work and how he understand about my school, and just tell him about who I met and everything. It was great because at that moment I could still remember it was very genuine, it was very real, and I know that my dad for all these years has still shown concern to me. It's just that I chose to not see it. Along the way, he still, whenever I do not have much cash to spend, actually he still put money into my wallet secretly and all that thing. And I didn't even go and thank him for that. But then he told me that a lot of things that he actually showed care for me. And because of that, I understand that two-way communication is very important. And luckily, not luckily, the circuit breaker actually presented a very good opportunity for us to spend time together, because of the fact that all of us are at home, and then I managed to spar with him in the chess games again. And from that, I still continue to listen to his teachings and his preaching of life to me. And I'm really very thankful for that. okay, I wouldn't say I was very thankful for circuit breaker chance, but it still presented us a really, really good opportunity to spend some time together. And even now, when the circuit breaker is lifted, and then we still go out for meals, and I'm still very thankful for that because we never done that for like so many years already. And finally, because of the fact that I decided to share with him about how I feel and how he shared with me about how he feel, and things just started to get slightly better. And I really appreciate that this mindfulness course has given me this sort of um, enlightenment to me for me to go and try and improve and mend this relationship with my father.
And what did you find in the mindfulness course that really helped you to open up, that you were ready to put aside your fears, your sense of, he's not going to be listening to me? So what really shifted?
I think it was two things. First was not judging, being non-judgmental. I think I judged a lot when I was in secondary school and when I was in the army and all that thing. I always have this perception that my dad doesn't care about me, and he was always cold and aloof. So with this judgment, it kind of prevented me from trying to tell him anything as well. So knowingly that there's this sort of judgment, I try to accept this judgment. After that, I know that, oh, I shouldn't be always thinking in such narrow mindset. I should open up. I should try and take one step further. I should try and take this first step and talk to my father about it and really let him know how I feel. And the second was active listening. I felt that I've been speaking too much to my friends. I've been spending so much time outside, and I rarely get the opportunity to really be a listener. And I felt that I wanted to be a listener to my dad. Since he's so cold, he's so aloof, there must be a lot of things in his mind. I wanted to be his listening ear as well. So I say, why not I take this opportunity as well to be an active listener to my dad, and then maybe after a while I could improve my relationship with my friends as well. I could build meaningful relationship outside as well, and of course, most importantly, with my father as well. And that will be a very good ending for the both of us because we will improve our relationship. And so I tried to listen more to my dad as well, and then it yeah, it actually improved quite a fair bit because our communication, because I was listening more. And then when I was listening more, I felt I could respond more genuinely, in a more concerned manner and all that thing, instead of just me doing the talking. And I feel that, yeah, this is the two main takeaway I have from that course itself that has broadened my horizon.
Thank you. Now, you mentioned that you had some really good memories about your father playing chess with you when you were in primary school.
Right.
Do you have any advice to parents in terms of what is important to a child growing up in, especially during the primary school years, that they should be doing with their kids?
I think,
In addition to taking them to tuition and emphasizing how important it is to study, right? What really stuck in your mind, and what did you feel that
yes.
was really something special for you?
Okay, I think it was the time that my father was willing to take up to spend with me. During those years, right, I don't have really a lot of friends, and my dad was in a sense like my best friend as well. Even though he was slightly busier with his work, but then he was still on every weekend take out the time and play chess with me. And I still can recall that as I was still very small at that time, he would still carry both me and my sister out on his shoulders and all that thing. And it was fun and all that and all that. And those times and those memories created was, even to this day, I could still remember. It shows that it was very, very important. And throughout my primary school years, thankfully, my parents, they didn't really force me to spend that much time on the tuition and all that thing. They focus a lot on trying to teach us the correct things and the values, especially during the game of chess, because I was very impatient last time. So through playing chess, my dad actually taught me a lot about life values like patience and all that thing, and I learned a lot from him on that. And then he will also bring us out very often, and it's just purely having fun without any stress, without any thinking of, oh, tomorrow I have to study this, I have to study that. So it was all just fun and games, which I enjoy a lot. But then when it reaches secondary school, things start to change because I'm growing up as well. Then I spent a lot of time in school, and then he became cold and aloof. He just focus more on his work, and I guess that's when things start to drift. But if I know we continue to communicate, I don't think we will ever drift. If he continue to keep his if we continue to keep this like the father and son time even in secondary school, I don't think we will drift that much. But now, okay, at least both of us are taking small little efforts to try and slowly close up the gap again.
Well, it sounds like play is a very important
Yes.
activity for parents to spend with their kids instead
Right.
of constantly reminding kids to be studying, reminding kids to do their homework. But actually, in the play, you found that you learned a lot from your parents because there was a
Right.
time that you were attentive and they were able to impart values to you and life teachings.
All right.
Yeah,
Right.
so I hope the parents out there who are listening will remember to put time, schedule time to play with your kids. Because as you can see, a young man here who is now in his 20s, what he remember most is the time that he spent in play with his parents. Yeah. So what about your mom? Would you like to share a little bit about your mom in terms of your relationship with her and how that has also changed over time as being mommy's boy to being, a grown man?
As for my mom, I think it's a lot better because, okay, not trying to be stereotyped here, but I think maybe the mom job is do a lot of nagging and communicating with the children. So she actually, until now, she still talk a lot to me. And throughout the years, like secondary school, in the army, when I was, even when I'm in university, even up till now, she was still putting a lot of effort to communicate with me. So I think the relationship with my mom is still it's still relatively well. It's better than my dad, if I would say, because we spend more time talking to each other. And some of the stuff that happened to me in school when I'm stressed or anything, I will let my mom know. And even when my results are out and all that, the first thing I would like tell the news to is not to my dad, but it's just to my mom, because we kind of have this communication throughout, even in primary school, secondary school, and all that. Yeah, so this communication has been maintained throughout. So that's why I think my relationship is a lot better with my mom than with my dad.
Okay. So before we carry on, I'm going to invite everyone to do a short mindfulness practice, and please join as well, Isaac. And
Right.
I'm going to also suggest to parents to perhaps when the mind is now more quiet and calm with the mindfulness practice that I'm going to lead you, that you'll be able to see the relationship that you currently have with your child and some of the things that you can now consider doing that may be different from how you have been parenting so far, and have some little breakthroughs which will help to bring you and your child closer together, which I think is what all parents hope for. Okay, so if I could invite everyone to sit back and just close your eyes. And let's take 3 beautiful deep breaths. I'd like to invite you now to just tune into your body and check in as to how this body is feeling in this present moment. Is your body feeling relaxed? Or is it feeling tired? Is there any soreness or pain? And let's tune into the mind. How's the mind doing? How's the weather up in the mind? Is it pretty clear? Or are there lots of thoughts, like lots of clouds in the sky? Or is there even a storm going on? Flooded with thoughts. Now I'd like to invite everyone to drop their focus onto their feet and just sense into the feet, how the feet are feeling. You may wish to wriggle your toes and Relax all your toes. Sense into your footwear or the surface that the feet are resting on. Adjust the position of the feet. If your feet would feel happier being moved to another position. And now sense into your bum sitting on the chair or on the bed, wherever you are. And how does the surface your bum is in contact with feeling? Is it soft, hard? And is your back upright or is it slouched? So straighten up your body if it helps your body to feel more aligned. Notice where your hands are and sensing into your fingers. Opening up your fingers and stretching them. And place your hands where they feel happy being. And now sensing into the stomach area. How is your abdomen feeling? Is it relaxed? Is there any tension in the abdomen? And sensing the breath going to the abdomen. And now noticing the chest. And feeling the breath going to the chest. And your chest relaxing every breath it takes. And scanning up your face, being aware of the expression that you're wearing. Relaxing the jaw, the cheeks, across the forehead. And now that you have become more aware of the body, how does the body feel now? And now just focusing on the breath, wherever you feel it most. And while you're anchoring on your breath, you may still be very aware of the movement in your chest or a thought popping up in your mind. And that's normal. Your mind being distracted by a sound or a thought. And now I'd like to invite you to bring up from your memory a difficult moment you had with your child, or if you're a child with your parent. And I'd like you to put this difficulty in front of you rather than keeping it in your head. So putting the difficulty away from you on the table, or even on the floor, on the bed, depending on where you're seated. And now as you look at this difficulty from a slight distance, and being aware of how you usually react. And most times these things keep repeating as it becomes a pattern. And as you're now calmer, And this difficulty is in front of you rather than it's circling in your head. Do you have another option, alternative response? Another way of dealing with it? Being aware that your child is growing up or has grown up from the time when he was much younger. So perhaps there's a different way now that is needed to handle the issue. To be more accepting, to let go, to be more trusting. And to have patience. So now do you have an alternative way of responding when the similar situation arises again? And now I'd like to invite you to focus back on the breath, wherever your breath is that you feel. And letting go of that difficulty and just returning to the breath. And just be aware of your body again, especially the length of the body from your feet all the way up your body, your shoulders to the head. And be aware of your right hand spanning across your shoulders to your left hand. And being much more aware of the body that you now live in. Now counting 3 more breaths. At the end of the 3rd breath, open your eyes. Okay. How was that for you, Isaac?
It was very relaxing and refreshing. Yes. Meditation
Did
always
you?
helps in this. Yes.
Good. And did any difficulty come up in your mind?
I think in terms of difficulty, maybe I haven't do it for a slightly long time. So I was just trying to find the focus and the breathing to try and control the rhythm and all that. So I think there's some slight difficulty in that. But other than that, I think all is good. I still feel very
Okay.
refreshed right after this.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I'd like to invite everyone to also submit their questions and provide their comments to how you have benefited so far from this short dialogue that I've had been conducting with Isaac so far. And I'd like to invite my co-hosts as well, Frank and May, to join me. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Turbo One and the former CEO, Albert To, for sponsoring this program. So I'm very grateful for his support, and I hope he's listening in. So do type something in the chat, Albert, if you're listening in. Right, so I'd like to now invite May to pose some questions to Isaac, and then followed by Frank.
Okay, hi, Isaac.
Hi.
Thank you for sharing, the very important points of how parents should create memories, for their children by doing activities that you enjoy together, right? And also model the values, and those are very important points. I'd like to ask you, before this mindfulness course, when you were in secondary school, I believe that there are moments you are stressed in school, with project deadline, with exams. So how did you manage stress? And at the moment, now you're in NUS after this undefeated mind course. How do you manage stress and anxiety? Yeah, we share.
So of course, having stress is it cannot be avoided, especially when grades and all that are involved. And also I have high expectation of myself to do well in certain areas as well. So when all that comes in, the stress build up level is very high. So usually for me, I will just go for a run, or I will distress by having hours set aside for entertainment. All this will help me distress. Alternatively, I also have a group of friends in secondary school, and they're all very nice, and we always hang out together, and I always go to my friends if I needed help. And when I'm stressed, I will just spend time with them, and then we will just go out together, have fun, and unwind. When I'm in NUS, luckily, again, I managed to have a close group of friends, and they're very important to me because of the fact that I'm able to seek help from them, I'm able to share my worries with them, and all this actually helps in distressing. And yes, all this is because of all this. Thankfully for me, I'm not stressed to the point that I'm actually breaking down anything. So far so good that in terms of stress management levels, it's relatively well. And after going through the mindfulness course, I actually learned more techniques, especially reflective writing. Actually, I realized that journalism helps in penning your thoughts, and because of that, I gain certain clarity in what I'm thinking, and I understand that, oh, I'm stressed in this area, that area, instead of stress because of just study. I realized that I'm stressed in actually a lot of areas as well. So because of the fact that I'm writing down, I gain that clarity in thought. I know where is the root of the problem, then I will be able to effectively solve it. So I think journalism helps. And thankfully, through this course, I learned that, oh, there's this actually bending down your thoughts that could be one avenue that you can seek to distress. And that's very important.
Yeah. Can you also share what did your parents do that were helpful to you? What did they do that may not be so helpful to you, to help you manage stress?
Okay, when my parents try to ask about my results and all that thing, okay, things are related to academics. Whenever they are involved, I will feel a bit stressful. When they have certain expectation of me, that's when I feel, oh, I have to do well, and that's something that I think it cannot be avoided. My parents, I understand that all parents will definitely want their children to do well, so they will definitely be involved whenever it comes to the academic area. But then I think because of the fact that they're involved, it kind of give me the stress levels. However, when I proceed on to my diploma studies, they actually wash their hands off me, and I actually did relatively well because of the fact that they were not involved in questioning me about my studies and all that thing, and because of the fact that they were not stressing me out, then my stress level was not very high, and everything I did was just because of my personal expectation on that. And I think that helps a lot in trying to do well in certain areas. Yeah. But whenever I have
sounds like you did better when your parents weren't stressing you.
correct. Ironically, when they were not involved, I kind of learned the importance of education myself instead of them telling me. So I know that, oh, to do well in my studies is actually helpful for the society. It's actually a repayment back to my parents and all that thing. And I mean, I will be able to have higher chance to look for a better job, and all this is important for the future. So all this enlightenment actually came after I entered the diploma studies and know, oh, okay, actually I need to do well in this area, that area, in order to have a more stable career or something like that. Yeah. So actually,
So you went to Polytechnic first.
Yes.
Before you went to NUS.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So when I come to uni again, they kind of they were not very involved as well. So they said, oh, that's a good thing. University now, I think, and they will never go and ask about my results or anything. So so the thing is, when they are not involved, I kind of feel less stressed in doing all this academic studying, the project work and all that. Oh, when they are not involved, I can just be free to plan my own timetable and all that. And I think it's better.
Amazing. Good. Makes me feel like I did the right type of parenting, where I didn't ask my kids about the schedule or
Yeah.
yeah, or the results all the time, you know, yeah. So, and I'm glad they have done well too. So I hope parents out there listening feel that, you know, you actually can trust your children and they will rise up to the occasion when you trust them. Frank, would you like to pose your questions now?
Thank you, Angie. And Isaac, thank you very much. Your presentation essentially endorses the point that that umbilical cord between child and parent is never severed. It's never physically severed, but it's always there. You know, the child's need for the parent's love is always there. No matter how old they get, it's always going to be there. And parents need to understand that and understand that that omnipresence of that thing, of that love, that emotion is there. And you don't have to be afraid that it's no more there just because they've become a teenager, for example. You know what I mean? So I think, thank you very much for that message. I think that's a very important message for parents. I have a question for you. You know, as a teenagers and as most parents are experiencing from their teenage children, they come from the pre-teen where they are very involved with the child, right? Like your father was with you. And then when they become teenagers, for some reason, there's this separation that happens, right? This separation from the parent and between the child, it kind of takes place. And then the child now clamors for more privacy, more space, and more confidentiality. And then the parents are saying, what happened to my baby? You know, he was there with me and now he's no more there. You know, what happened? Can you help parents understand this? You know, why is it that teenagers need to have this space, this privacy, you know, this need to be, not to be intruded upon? Can you help them understand that as a teenager?
Okay, so, okay, sure. Thanks for the question. So speaking from my own perspective and experience, when I was in my teenage years, I will, the first thought that always comes to my mind when it involves parents is, I feel that they don't understand me. So when I have this thought that they don't understand me, so I wouldn't want to tell them about a lot of things, and I wouldn't want them to be involved in my matters and my personal matters, my things regarding my privacy. I wouldn't want them to be involved because from my mindset, I just feel that no, they don't understand me, and why should I tell them? Why should I waste my time to tell them? And even if I were to tell them, they will be nagging at me, they'll be lecturing me, they'll be scolding me because they'll be questioning everything that I do. So with so much of all this questioning involved, with the lecturing involved, then I will feel scared. I will feel more of like suspicious. I wouldn't feel comfortable. And when the comfort level is not there, instead of sharing with my parents, I will share with my friends because my friends will be able to provide that sort of comfort, that sort of space, that sort of environment. And all this avenue will present me a better opportunity to speak to them instead of to my parents. And the funny thing is all my friends, which are also in their teenage years, they experience the same thing as well. So they will share their things with each with us, with each other, with one another, instead of with their parents. And we all come to the very common consensus is our parents don't really understand us. That's why we do not want to let them get involved in our matters. And that's why we demand that sort of privacy. We don't want them to be involved in what we are doing because we don't want the questions to be coming in. And then it creates this sort of cycle. And because of this cycle, then that's how relationship got drifted, and then we don't communicate as often anymore.
Thank you for
So
that.
it's almost like, sorry, go ahead.
No, because it ties in with a question that's just come in. Sorry, Frank. Why is it my son respond impatiently when I ask him how he's doing? I'm just showing concern and trying to bond with him and to help. So it reminds me as well with my son. He doesn't like questions. Even it's like, you know, how are things? And usually I'll get answer like fine. And you know, it ties in what you're saying. Is like boys just generally don't like a lot of questions. They like to feel that, you know, if they want to share, they will do it. But otherwise, it's like there's an intrusion into their private space. Yeah. So Isaac, would you like to add anything to that?
I think I got to agree with you because it's basically what I just said. Yeah, it all comes down to the fact that I don't see that point anymore, so I wouldn't want to commit myself to telling so much matters to my parents. because I feel like, okay, you're going to question me. No, I'm not going to get a question to be in. And that's why all this happens. The miscommunication happened, the lack of communication happened, and yeah, then things just took a downhill for them. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also I think mothers tend to ask more questions when they get a piece of information, unlike dads are like, okay, if that's what you want to tell me, that's fine. So a lot of kids tend to back off when they feel like, oh, if I tell mom something, now she's going to ask 5 more questions about, you know,
Correct.
you know, who is this person? Where are you going? Why are you going there? What time you're coming home? And so on and so forth.
Yes.
Who was a dad would be like, okay, so you're going out, okay, fine, you know.
All right.
Would that be something that you agree with, Isaac?
Yes, totally. That's why sometimes even when I want to go out, right, I will not tell her that I'm actually going out. But actually I should. But then because of the fact that I'm afraid of all these follow-up questions, then I will feel more, oh, okay, I better not share this piece of information, for the fear that the questioning comes in, and when I don't give a satisfactory answer, I might not be able to go out. And then that would not be that great. And it happens before, that's why it makes me take a step back. And then the more I do not want to share with my parents anymore on what I'm doing, because of the fact that they question too much and get suspicious over everything.
Yeah, and they come across disapproving, like, I don't approve of you doing this or going out or hanging out with this
Correct.
friend, and then you feel like, then it's better I don't tell you.
Yes, yes. That's
you.
how it is. Yes.
Frank, sorry, carry on.
There is also a particular pattern that emerges as we age, as the child ages and goes through the teen years, and the parents move on into their midlife crisis period. So the child becomes a teen, and the child has this need for that privacy we talked about, the conflict, that space, right? And that space is so important to them because the mind is beginning to get more developed, and they're beginning to ask themselves a lot of questions. Who am I, and what do I stand for, and what is my identity? And all these things starts, troubling them, and the hormones are growing, and I like that girl and the girl likes me, and kind of stuff. All these things start happening to them. It's a very difficult period for the teenager as they grow through this period. And as they're going through this, guess what's happening to the parents? They're becoming older, right? They're getting more advanced in their careers. The midlife crisis starts coming in, mortgage loans and all these other things and issues started to surface. And you get very occupied in your own little world. And that's where this tendency to drift apart happens. And we have to be very careful. As Isaac says, if you start drifting, then it becomes a pattern of behavior, interactive behavior between the two. And before you know it, now there's no need to talk to each other. And then you get into your post-teen and your young adult years, then you get busy with your work, right? And the relationship drifts even further. So we have to be very careful that this is happening. And we have to introduce any kind of interactive activities within the family to come together and at least, respect each other, trust each other, let's share some stories kind of stuff, and keep it warm, keep the relationship and the interaction warm.
All right. Yes, I got to agree with that because it's very important. The moment the gap is there and it continues to widen without any parties involved in trying to close the gap, you will just be just like me and my dad. All of a sudden, within a span of like a few years, we just stop talking to each other, even though we are staying in the same place. How can that happen? And only recently that I go and think about it. Oh, wow, I'm staying with my dad and I don't even talk that often to him. Yeah, so when the gap widens to that point, it will be quite a challenge to suddenly bring it back. But I believe with some time, with some more quality time spent together, I still think there's still a chance for us to be back to like what was before. It's a matter of whether the first step. When the first step is taken, things start to become a lot easier. Yeah, and thankfully I went through this mindfulness course. Yeah, and it does help me broaden my horizon and understand that, oh, my parents are aging. I have to do something before they are not around this way. And it's important I cherish the time as well, because when they are not around anymore, I will have regrets. And when those regrets comes in, it will never disappear because they will not be around anymore for me to go and spend time with them. And so luckily I'm only 23 now and my parents are not super old, so I still have a good amount of time to spend together with them. And thankfully for this course, I can I can do this. Yes.
Thank you, Isaac. Would you like to read some of the questions posed in the Q&A section and then decide which ones you like to answer first and to respond to them accordingly? And while you're reading that, I would just like to say a few words to the parents out there. As Isaac mentioned that journaling helps him to reflect on what he's experiencing, and from reading what he has written down helps him to see things in a different perspective. So even as parents, I would encourage you to do the same, that when you're stuck in a situation, to write it down, including the difficulties that you're experiencing with your kids, because it might actually become an opportunity for you to see things from their perspective and to understand them better instead of usually just from our perspective as a parent. So when I led you through that mindfulness practice just now in putting the difficulty outside of your mind, is also a technique for you to look at the difficulty that you have been faced with time again and again. And perhaps there's another way of responding instead of hitting the brick wall every time. And hitting the brick wall every time is what many people would term as nagging. And this is something that a lot of us mothers do, because we think that, if we say it one more time, even though we've said it 38 times, this one more time might work. And actually, it ain't going to work, because if it did work, it would have worked before. And this is where we really have to take a step back and say, hey, what can I do about the situation that my child is not listening or not responding? Is to perhaps just stop saying it. Because if we have said it 38 times, it must have gone into their head, but either it's rejected or it's buried. And when they do have the space and we stop saying it, something may actually happen in their mind, and they may decide to actually that, what we have said is actually meaningful. So give them that space for their mind to process, for their mind to take ownership of that suggestion, instead of feeling that they're being instructed. So the other thing to consider is, not to ask too many questions, especially when they become teenagers, because they feel interrogated. So give them the space, a chance for them to share with you what they would wish to share, and be encouraging. Even if they share with you they have a girlfriend and you don't approve of the girlfriend, better don't make a comment, and just say, oh, okay, yeah, bring her home, and let's all have a meal together, and it'll help him to see his girlfriend in different angles, instead of us saying anything negative, because by us saying negatively, he will only be more determined to go out with her, and that's what usually happens. Okay, Isaac, back to you in answering some of the questions that have been posed.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so for the first question by Tasha Zuo, and you said that you asked me, good to hear that. What are some things you want my mom to do less? Okay, for that, right, I think I want that to happen, but I know it's impossible, which is to reduce the nagging on me. Even until now, she still nags at me, and I don't think it will ever change. But I hope if that's one thing that I can change and she can do less of that, it will definitely be nagging me. Yeah. Almost like a lot of things that I do, she will kind of have some inputs or comments on it. Even basically just like washing the dishes, she will also have some comments on it. So, I hope that maybe she next less of me. I think that's one thing that I really, really wish that she can do less of. For the next question, so for the anonymous attendee, you asked, have you ever crossed your mind then that perhaps since that may just wanted to back off a little to give you space? Yes, this actually came across my mind. I was thinking maybe perhaps I appeared too busy, then my dad do not want to get involved with me anymore. But then for me, I think, oh, my dad looks very busy. So I think it could be that he had this perception as well, because I have this perception that he's busy with his work. And okay, then I better not get him involved in so many things. I better not tell him that much thing to let him worry so much again. So maybe if I really have something happening to me, I will just let my mom know instead of my dad. So it my dad just kind of got excluded in this equation of communication. I just don't tell him anymore. So I think he could have this perception as well. That's why he back off not a little, but actually quite a lot, to give me that sort of space. Yeah, and for the next question, Eileen, was it just a perception or you saw evidence that your parents really did not understand? Initially, it was just perception. And because of this perception, I started to form the bias. And whenever I tell them things, they will just think that I will be doing bad things. For example, okay, one classic example was, I mean, I will never forget about this, is when I said I want to go to a chalet to have fun with my friends, to celebrate a birthday. But the first thing that comes to my mind is I'm going to a chalet and I'll be doing things that are not appropriate for my age. So yeah, this is the first thing that comes to their mind. So I think that straight away I think they don't understand me. I'm just going there to have fun, to celebrate a birthday. Why would they take this so far? So I think that was one of the evidence that clearly made me think that they don't understand me. Yeah.
Yeah, just pause there. So
Okay.
Perception is reality to the mind that believes it, right? So you believe they didn't trust you and that was your reality. And to them is like, it's not a good thing to do and becomes the parent's reality. And sometimes the two don't come together. And with that kind of misperception and the mistrust that arises would only just cause that drift that Frank was just alluding to just now. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, for the next question, it's a little long by anonymous. So basically, you have 2 children, grown up, and you go shared. So you're saying that the children are not talking to each other anymore.
Okay, maybe we'll take that one. Would you like to, how do you prefer your parents to connect and bond with you as a teenager?
I think as a teenager, if it would be good if they actually spend more time to talk to me and communicate with me often, instead of just having this perception that I'm doing my things and then they are doing their own things, and then even we don't sit down to have dinner together anymore. So I think that one thing that I would like to happen is just to have dinner together, maybe on at least 2 times in a week. I always believe that eating together will create this sort of communication with each other, and we will always talk when we are eating. So it's a good bonding activity. But then all of a sudden in my teenage years, they don't do that anymore. And I don't participate anymore as well. So I hope that maybe parents can take more initiative to have this compulsory, to make it compulsory to at least have dinner once together as a family. And then from there, we can at least improve the relationship, which I think is very important. Because for me, I think that we did not really have opportunity to always eat together. And I think that's also another factor. That's why my father and I drifted off.
Can I add something?
Yes, please. Yeah, Frank.
I think it's a wonderful idea. I've heard this a couple of times before. Dads going on a date with their son, one-on-one. You know, mom going on dates with their daughters, one-on-one, and vice versa. This dyad relationship between parent and child is very important. So you don't have to do a family thing always together, because sometimes there are issues that you don't want to bring up in a family gathering, but you would rather bring it up on a one-to-one get-together, right? So this kind of a dates and doing things together with one of the two of their parents is a useful thing, something to consider. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Actually, I think it's a good idea as well to have this sort of father-son bonding and all that thing. Yeah. It's important to have this, because I realized that even my parents don't put in the effort to do this anymore, and I also don't try to put in the effort to do this anymore. And if I could rewind back to time, I think when I have more maturity and understanding, but I know it's difficult for a teenager, but if I could rewind back in time, I think I would try to initiate this more, even though my parents could be busy, but I was and tired from work. I would still say, hey, let's go out, we can grab a supper or anything. And I think they will appreciate it a lot, and I also appreciate it a lot. And instead of having so much missed chances, opportunities to spend time together.
Okay. Frank, would you like to take that question on the mother and the 2 children that felt traumatized?
I haven't quite read it sufficiently.
Maybe you might want to take a couple moments to read that.
Yeah. Okay.
And Isaac, Okay, there's a question here. I know there are parents who would go to the school, universities to complain, inquire, or talk on behalf of their grown-up children. What would you say to these parents, assuming that their children are okay with that?
Oh, please don't ever do that. I think that, especially in the university level already. I think at this, okay, in secondary school, maybe there's some involvement will be okay, because maybe the children is not as understanding or mature enough to handle certain situations. And when black and white is no longer as clear as easy to them, right or wrong. But then in university, right, I think it's a time where we need the independence and the freedom. And if the parents were to come down again to the university to inquire and to get involved in so many areas, right, I would say that it will be very difficult for the children to grow up, and they will not be able to really be independent or to have that sort of freedom. I think freedom is very important, especially in the university already. It's the best time to really go and explore our interests, to develop our interests, to really develop ourselves as a person, to really have fun, because it will be just a once in a lifetime experience in university to have this sort of fun. And if the parents were still to get involved in almost every single matter in university, or even to a certain degree, then I would say the parents, the children will not have that sort of fun as they should have in the university. I really think that university is a time that, okay, just let us have our let us have our fun experience, and just let us do what we like to do, because it's really the once in a lifetime opportunity.
Thank you, Isaac, for mentioning that. I mean, as a professor now at the university, I would be absolutely shocked if parents show up and talk to me about their child, and the child is now in their 20s. I would feel very sorry for the child. It's like, this poor chap, right, doesn't get a chance to grow up and doesn't get a chance to learn how to take on his own problems and deal with it. Yeah, so I absolutely agree with you. And perhaps still when they're in the army, as parents, we might still want to intervene if the child is being bullied in the army. But then you're talking about a kid who is what, 17 or maybe 18, but once they're in their 20s, we really need to let them learn how to take care of their own problems. Yeah. May, would you like to add anything before Frank attempts to answer that long question?
Yeah, I agree fully. It is really quite embarrassing for the children if the parents intervene when they're, in the 20s. And I think for me, my son will really tell me off. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to just add that, as parents, we want to be dutiful. So we tended to want to give comments and feedback because we wanted to correct our children so that they can be better. But I hope that we can see giving feedback and advice to our children as giving them gifts, So these gifts must be useful to them so they can do something about it. And it must be nicely presented, the tone that we use and all that. And also, I think children will appreciate the gifts more if they ask for it, right? And I also hope that when we give gifts, it should be on special occasion and not to give so many gifts. So, I think we don't have to give so many advice and directions and comments all the time. Yeah.
Thank you. Frank, are you ready?
As ready as I can be. That's
okay. Go for it.
That was a very the question that came from whoever wrote that. I can sense your pain. It's so important to us that families stay together, keep together, enjoy some healthy relationships as we age through our lives. But there are times when we do certain things in our lives as parents, when our children are young, that actually traumatize them. I can understand that. But I tell many kids who come to me for counseling and who have this kind of experiences with their parents, I try and tell them that no parent gets up in the morning and tell themselves purposefully that I'm going to hurt my child today. Nobody does that. And so if it happens, it's more an act of omission than more an act of commission. You know what I mean? You don't do this purposefully. Yet we need to also understand, and this is very important, we tend to parent the way we were parented. And I see that a lot. I see when I ask children who feel kind of traumatized with their early days with their parents, and I ask them, how was your parent raised during their times? And then they will say, yeah, they had a hard time too. So there is this intergenerational pass me down thing, right, with parenting techniques. And we tend to do things with our children the way it was done to us. So how do we do this now from here on? We have caused the hurt. They are hurt. Things may have been said and done that they carry with them into their adulthood. If you are conscious about and you are aware of what you did, then I think it would be appropriate to apologize for that. Write a letter. If they don't want to talk to you, then maybe write a letter and state that you whatever you did, and state clearly what you did was inappropriate, and I'd like to apologize and I'd like to start again. The intent to want to start again must be very genuine, and it must be unconditional, right? And I think if you do apologize and work to be a new person in that relationship, I think it can be done. And this new relationship is a concept that we need to toy with, because sometimes you have a set of relationships in early years that didn't quite work out, and then it has traumatic effects, and then things don't happen together again with the other person or persons. Nothing to stop us from saying, close that book and start book 2. Start a new relationship with them, right? Use your creativity to come up with some ways to re-engage them. Because now the two children are getting to be adults, and you have to now treat them like adults, right? So keep after them, but not in a stalking way, but show them that you still love them, you still are interested in them, and you like to be part of their life in a non-intrusive way. And so a lot of connecting habits are useful, right? Accept them for who they are. Try and see if you can find an opportunity to listen to them if they want to talk to you. Respect them, very important, right? And then keep at it, but in a manner that gives them the space and respects their adulthood. But don't give up on them. Don't give up on that, because as I said, as Isaac has said, the love for parents is still there. They are hurt. Yes, they are hurt. But the love is still there, and you have to believe it's still there. So accept what is, and let go of what was, and just have faith that love will still come back, and this new relationship you're trying to strike off with them will come back. So wish you luck. If you want to talk some more about this, I'm always available to chat with you. Yeah.
For those of you who are new to this program, Frank Singham is the senior counselor at Brahm Center, and he sees many parents with all sorts of challenging issues to deal with. Mei Cheng is in charge of our assist line that takes distress calls from parents as well as children. And she was a former school vice principal. So coming to another question here, which is a bit similar to what Frank was just addressing just now, is my adult son has not been speaking to me for more than 5 years due to some disputes in his NS years. I have been writing notes to him. How do I reconnect? What I have learned is that, if we had a dispute with our kids, is not to justify our actions, but rather to just say, we're very sorry. I didn't handle it well, and I hope that we can start again to be closer. So not to try to justify what we had done, why we had done that, because they don't want to hear it. So I don't know if Frank would like to add to that.
No, I totally spot on. As close book 1, I always say, never go back to the past, right? You can't start a new narrative going forward if we keep going back into the past. But show enthusiasm, show dedication, show passion that you want to start it again. And nobody will like to give up on a person who really wants to come back at them and be more living. I think it takes time. You got to be patient, but keep at it. Keep at it. There's nothing else to lose, right? Just keep at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So another question at the bottom here is, I, as in Angie, said that perception is reality. May I further clarify that if a parent does all the right things, non-judging, no nagging, encouraging, children may still develop perception that parents don't understand them and avoid them. Yes, please remember, children have an underdeveloped brain. The brain is not fully developed till the age of 25, especially the parts of the brain that really matter, which is the prefrontal cortex and the insula of the brain. And this part of the brain is the brain that becomes much more aware of feelings, emotions, sensations of the body, and also to be able to see things from different perspectives. So most teenagers are not able to do that. So they all may look like adults because they are grown, they are strong, they are tall, but their brain is not fully developed, and maturity of their emotions, their awareness, their ability to see things from different perspective, it's not going to happen till later part in the years. And perhaps Isaac might want to say a few things after he learned about that also during the mindfulness course, that expecting our kids to understand things and see the complexities of the world and appreciating it, it's just too much for us to be asking of them. Isaac, would you like to comment?
Yes, so I think most importantly is provide the time and just trust that your children will really grow up and they will learn the things by themselves and eventually they will be mature. It's just that because maybe the parents at some point in time just try to make them think like an adult, but it's not possible because we have different stages in life and that's a path that we have to go through. And I think the trust is very important. Even though your kid could be wrong, they could make mistakes, must be accepting of those mistakes, teach them the correct thing and that's suitable for that stage of life. And eventually, I think your children will still grow up, will still blossom, and they will still do what they are best at doing. And just that trust is very important. Yeah, got to agree with that. Yes, trust.
Thank you. I think it's good for us to look back in our times when we were a teenager. Didn't we go through a time when we thought our parents didn't really know much? That we actually knew more than our parents, and our parents are just so messed up. They come home, they don't look happy, and then they tell us to study hard so that we will become like them. And we look at them and say, why would we want to be like you? Because because you don't look happy, you don't look like you've got your marriage in good condition or in good order. So there is a lot of judgments in teenagers' minds, and that is part of their brain development, to learn how to judge and assess threats, assess when their own sense of safety and security is being threatened. So it's just for us to accept that that's just part of their growing changes, the metamorphosis of a human mind, a human brain. Yeah. Okay, basically we have come to time. Our time is up. So I'd like to just invite everyone to share some concluding words. So maybe we can start with Frank, followed by May, and then Isaac. And I will also bid everyone goodbye. Frank, would you like to start first?
Thank you, Angie. Today, it's clear from the questions asked and the focus has been on past mistakes, hurt relationships, and how do we move forward. It starts early, I would say. I'll be very clear. It starts very early for young parents who are listening in today. Whatever you do with your children, until the time they become young adults and they move away from the household, don't do anything that would make them drift further away from you than is necessary. And so it's very important to be very mindful of your ways and what is troubling you, and don't let that get in the way when you interact with your kids. And if you do mistakes as they grow up in your parenting styles, and if you upset them emotionally, and you can sense that, right? be very quick to resolve it straight away. Don't leave it unattended. Don't sweep things under the carpet, because they then brew over time, over years, and then they become even bigger issues to handle downstream. So apologize where you can. Be the bigger person in the relationship. Show that you are wise, that you are willing to share power with them. And even if you can't, and you're too busy and you didn't attend to it, and it gets later in life and the relationship is becoming more strained, then start anew. Start anew. Show the passion and the enthusiasm that you want to be with them for the rest of their life. And that kind of effort on your part will be recognized with time. They will come back. They will come back. Best of wishes.
Thank you, Frank. May? You need to unmute me.
Yeah, sorry, just a short one. I think while, during the teenage years that we want to actively engage our teenagers, make them the most important person that we speak to pay attention fully and spend time with them doing meaningful things. That's called active engagement. At the same time too, we ought to have detached availability, to give them the space, to give them the freedom, but at the same time, we are available if they want to, talk to us. Yeah, so there is this balance of active engagement and detached availability. Okay, yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you, May. And Isaac?
Okay, I think most importantly is to give the space that teenagers need, that young adults need, that your children need. Give them the space, have the trust in them, let them have their freedom, let them pursue the things that they're interested in doing, as long as it's not criminal activity. Give them the support for their interests. And when you're there to show your support and support them in pursuing their interests, and all this, when all this is adds up, it will be a very wonderful journey that you will have with your children. And eventually they will still grow up, and then they will have a lot much better memories with you as a parent-child relationship. Yes, I think that's the most important thing. Trust, time, space.
Thank you, Isaac. Well, I think patience is something that all parents need to have. And I think our parents probably had a lot of patience too, to put up with us and to finally feel that, they've done a good job with us. Especially after we become parents, we start to appreciate much more of what they have done for us and the sacrifices that they have made. So in time, when they get married, they would know that being a parent is not easy. And for all the misgivings that has happened, I think they will start to shift in terms of how they perceive us as parents. So just trust that in time, they will realize, if they don't now, that being a parent is not an easy task, not an easy responsibility to undertake. There were some questions here about privacy. I think it's important that we knock on their doors before we open and go into their rooms, if this is one of the privacy, not to look through their things when they are in school, because teenagers are very, very sensitive to that. And when they feel that they can't trust us, it does really set the relationship back. And I know that especially mothers, we have this very protective tendency, and we want to look at what our kids are up to and try to find some traces of what they think, how they think, who their friends are, and what they could be buying or accumulating, and then we go through their things. I think that is actually not a very advisable thing to do. And sometimes when you do find something, you start to feel like, oh, now you have to take action, and that really becomes very damaging, because I think we just need to let our kids discover the world, and also to make some mistakes. But it doesn't mean that we don't teach them values, and these values have to be taught young, especially when they're in primary school. So talk about the bees and the birds as well when they're young in the primary school, because that's when they are most attentive and willing to listen from parents. Once they go into secondary school and become an older teenager, we pretty much have lost our opportunity. So we have to now trust that another adult is going to help them through that journey. So if your kids are not doing great in school, it's okay, give them time. Just as, some kids are not really good at certain games or certain competitive sports because their muscles or their bones are not built that way. They're also not wired that way. For some kids, their brain is not wired yet for certain types of subjects. And my daughter did really badly in math throughout most of her years. And she still made it. She managed to get a master's from the London School of Economics. So not all is lost, and just give them time. Some are just late boomers. So with that, I'd like to thank all of you once again for joining this program, and I hope that you will share this on Facebook onto your page so that your friends would also benefit from this. We have 2 more or 3 more for this month of mindful parenting webinars. And I'd like to thank Isaac for being so willing to share his story, and for his parents for not protesting or disagreeing or objecting to him sharing. And to my 2 co-hosts, Mei Cheng and Frank. Thank you so much. And thank you to Turbo One and Albert for sponsoring the program. Bye, everyone, and enjoy your parenthood because it's also part of our growth journey. Take care.